Dear students, hope you are all safe and healthy. My name is Mudassar Abbas and I am lecturer at Institute of Business Studies, Kohat University of Science and Technology. My area of specialization is human resource management. Today we are going to study about decision making process. This is a sixth chapter of the book of Principles of Management with the course code of BS 121. Okay, before starting our lecture today, let's have an outline of this chapter. After reading this chapter, you should learn to outline the steps in decision making process. You should also be able to explain why decision making is so pervasive in organization. You should describe the rational decision makers, contrast the perfectly rational and bounded rational approaches to decision making. In addition to this, we will also be able to learn to explain the role of intuition in the decision making process, identify the two types of decision problems and the two types of decisions that are used to solve the problem. We should also learn to differentiate the decisions under certainty, risk and uncertainty. These are the three different types of conditions under which decisions are mostly taken. Describe the different decision making styles. So these are the certain main topics that we are going to cover in our lecture. Okay, before discussing the intuitive decision making, first of all we must have an understanding of what intuition is. Basically, it is the ability to understand something instinctively without the need of conscious reasoning. Or you can say, a thing that one knows or considers likely from instinctive feeling rather than conscious reasoning. So, on the basis of these kind of instinctive feeling, any kind of decision that is taken is called as intuitive decision. Or we can say it is a subconscious process of making a decision on the basis of experience and accumulated judgment. Such kind of decisions do not rely on systematic or thorough analysis of the problem. They generally complement the rational decision analysis. Okay, now we will see what kind of decisions come under intuitive decision. Experience-based decisions, that mean decisions based on a person's past experience. Effect-initiated decision, that means the decisions based on feelings and emotions. Cognitive-based decisions, the decisions based on skills, knowledge and training. Subconscious mental process decisions, decisions based on subconscious information or data. Value or ethics based decisions, decisions based on ethical values or culture. So we can say that decisions that are based on the basis of the following factors comes under intuitive decision making. Now we will discuss what are the different kinds of problems and what are the different kinds of decisions taken to solve those problems. So the first kind of problem is well-structured problems. These are straightforward, familiar and easily defined problems. Like These are the problems that we face on routine basis or on daily basis. For these kind of problems, there are program decisions that are used to address the structure problems. They minimize the need for managers to use discretion. They facilitate the organizational efficiency. For these kind of problems, there are procedure, rules, and policies. Procedures, a series of interrelated sequential steps used to respond to a structured problem. Rules, these are the explicit statements of what to do and what not to do. Policy means the guidelines or parameters for any kind of decision making. Okay, the other kind of problems are poorly structured problems. These are new, unusual problems for which information is incomplete or ambiguous. That means these kind of problems do not occur on routine basis or on daily basis, and there is lack of information about the nature of these problems. For these kind of problems, non-programmed decisions are taken. Now, what are non-programmed decisions? The decisions that are used to address poorly structured problems. These kind of decisions produce a custom-made response. That means the response that is taken or produced is in accordance with the problem that has occurred. They are more frequent among high-level managers. Since these kind of problems are unique in nature and there is little information available, so solving these problems is done by the high-level managers. Few decisions in the real world are either fully programmed or non-programmed. That means in the real world we do not have any problem for which we have 100% information or complete information, and similarly we do not have any kind of problem for which there is no information available. So we can say the real world problems exist between poorly structured problems and the well structured problems. Now let's discuss the types of problems with the help of this diagram. Here you can see that on one hand we have types of problem, while on the other hand we have level of organization. On the top we have ill-structured problem, and on the bottom we have well-structured problem. Similarly, on the top we have top level management, and on the lower side we have lower level managers. From this more covered blue area, we can see that the well-structured problems are actually dealt by lower level managers, and as we move towards the ill-structured problem, the area that is red in color increases, which means that the top management is responsible for the dealing of ill-structured problems. Now the well-structured problems are actually associated with the programmed decisions, and the ill-structured problems are actually associated with the non-programmed decisions. So we can also interpret it as the non-programmed decisions are mostly taken by the top management, while the programmed decisions are mostly taken by the lower level management. Okay, now we will discuss the conditions under which decisions are taken. Basically, there are three kind of conditions under which the decisions are taken. And one is certainty, number two is risk, number three is uncertainty. Certainty, that means that the outcome of every alternative is known. It is idealistic rather than realistic in nature. This means that in the real world life, we are not certain or 100% sure about the outcome of any decision. The second condition is risk. This means we are able to estimate the probability of outcomes stemming from each alternative. That means we can predict the chances of occurrence of any outcome from any kind of decision. The third condition is uncertainty. This means we are not certain about the outcome and unable to estimate the probabilities. So in this kind of situation, the decision is taken keeping in mind the psychological orientation of the decision maker. That means that the psychological approach of the decision maker will decide what kind of decision will be taken in uncertainty. Okay, there are two dimensions that define the approach to decision making. One is the way of thinking. Two is tolerance for ambiguity. Way of thinking, it differs from rational to intuitive. That means someone is either adopting a rational way of thinking or an intuitive way of thinking, or someone may exist in between these two extremes. The other one is tolerance for ambiguity. It means differs from a need for consistency and order to the ability to process many thoughts simultaneously. Okay, now we will discuss the decision making style. There are basically four decision making styles: directive, analytic, conceptual, and behavioral. Directive decisions are fast, efficient, and logical. That means we give a direction for a particular work to do. Analytic, careful and able to adapt or cope with the new conditions. That means these kind of decision making are done carefully and we try to adapt to the new situation in these kind of decision. Number 3 is conceptual. Be able to find a creative solution to the problem. So while taking these kind of decision, we always try to solve any kind of problem in a creative way. Last is behavioral decision making style, in which we seek acceptance of decision. It is concerned about the achievement of the subordinates and receptive to the suggestion of others. That means we also keep in mind whatever suggestion our co-workers or colleagues give to us. That will be reflected in our behavioral decision making. The organizations with the diverse workforce due to caste, race, gender, ethnicity will have a decision making process influenced by that diverse workforce. So we can say there will be diversity in decision making when the organization have a diverse workforce. There are certain advantages of such diverse workforce. It provides a fresh perspective. Because we have employees from different backgrounds, such kind of employees can bring different kind of knowledge with them. So we can utilize that in order to make any kind of decision. Offer different interpretation of the problem. The employees with the different background have their own approach towards interpretation of any problem. So one problem can be interpreted in many ways, hence give us a position in which we can look into the problem from different perspectives. It will increase the likelihood of creative and unique solution, because different people will give different input and we can have a unique solution to a particular problem. Okay, in addition to the advantages of diverse workforce and decision making, there are certain disadvantages as well. The first and the foremost is that it requires more time to reach a decision. When we have diverse workforce in the organization, it will take more time to reach any kind of conclusion, because of the reason that different employees belong to different regional, ethical, religious backgrounds. So it will take more time to understand each other. The language can also serve as a barrier or problem to communication, hence it will also affect the decision making. So when the employees belong to different regions, they will have different languages and it will be difficult to understand each other. So we can say it will also be a disadvantage in a diverse workforce. Diverse workforce may create a more complex, confusing and ambiguous decision-making process. Why? Because every employee has his or her own way of approaching to a decision making. So when different employees working in the same organization approach differently towards the decision making process, it will create a situation of confusion. It may have difficulty in reaching agreement. As I earlier mentioned that the consensus will reach, but it will be difficult to reach a consensus in a short period of time. Why? Because the employees will not be in a position to understand each and everyone properly, and they will not be able to understand the other's approach towards decision making. So we can say that there will be difficulty in reaching agreement.